Hi everyone, thank you for being with me today on Wise, Witty and Weird. One of the conversations which is lurking, not just in the background I guess, but lurking all around Parliament at the moment, is about sex in Parliament and the role that our politicians and their staffers are playing in dealing with an issue which should be of concern to all of us. The question really here is, how are they doing in dealing with the issue around sex in Parliament? Today we discovered that not only was there the incident around Brittany Higgins, but there have been multiple instances whereby staffers and possibly politicians, that is yet to be established, but there has certainly have been staffers who have behaved badly, extremely badly in Parliament, and who have not only sexually assaulted members of members of their staff, but also they have behaved in lewd, crude, rude and disgraceful ways by performing sexual acts, for example, on top of a female politician's desk. Now, I guess most of us can sit back and think, well, you know, is this simply boys being boys? But the reality is that any sexual conduct which is denigrating another person of any description is simply wrong. And for our politicians to be engaged in such behaviour and to allow a culture which does not prohibit sexual activity, misogyny and a range of other acts that are about defaming and denigrating women, then there is something drastically wrong. And we as the community needs to take a stand against what we're experiencing in Parliament House. The best way that we can do that, I guess, is to raise our objections, as I'm doing here, to ensure that the parliamentary inquiry into the Brittany Higgins affair and other sexual misconduct within Parliament is actually dealt with appropriately. It is interesting to note that the inquiry that was put into place by Morrison, according to Morrison, had been halted or paused, but according to those people that were running the investigation, it had not. He clearly lied to all of us about what was happening in regard to the investigation into these allegations of sexual assault. The time has come for us as men to make a stand against such behaviour. It has become part of our culture, I think, to denigrate women, to make comments about women while in the pub or in the locker room. You know, and I can't help but think of Donald Trump's statement in relation to grabbing women by the pussy, that somehow that seemed to be acceptable. And it was acceptable to those in the United States because they elected him as president. The reality is that that behaviour is unacceptable everywhere and should be unacceptable here in Australia in particular, because we believe that giving people a fair go is just who we are. That there is a moral code that we need to start to live by, which is not about denigrating women. The moral code should be that we should stand up for everybody, and when we see anyone denigrated, it is our responsibility to make a stand against what other people are doing, a strong stand. That people like Brittany Higgins now have to live with the public humiliation of what happened to her, I find itself a crime. I think that it is about time that we made that stand, that every one of us should take responsibility for what we as men do. We should not denigrate women, we should not put them down regarding sexual activities, and we should stop accepting the notion that women are asking for it. We should also ensure that we're not denigrating women by talking about the way they dress, the amount that they drink, the fact that they said, come on, that they gave us the indication that they were in a position to be able to have sex with us. We need to stop making assumptions that are just unfounded, untrue, that are somehow concocted in our own minds about what women are expecting to happen. We should accept that sex is something that is negotiated, that intimacy is something which is not necessarily about sex, that in this case, in Parliament House, apparently there had been some allegations suggesting that prostitutes were also called in to satisfy some of these men, and I'm guessing that some of those men are politicians. So a lot more has to be discovered about what's been happening in Parliament House. It is our role to make sure that those people who are responsible for this behaviour are kept to account. Those people in particular who knew that this was happening but failed to do anything about it, they are just as responsible as the abuser. So those people need to be dismissed with, we need to ensure that there's some accountability to what actually has happened under their watch. We need to make sure that this stops, and that it stops now. It is our responsibility to make sure that those who are responsible are accountable for their behaviour, and for those who knew about it, their knowing of these issues as well. If politicians are to be respected, if it's a profession which is to be respected, and it certainly should be, I have as a budding politician myself, I guess, I have a leaning towards what it takes to be a politician, and being in front of the public and making the sorts of decisions that they do. But politicians should be the arbiters of truth. They should be the moral gatekeepers of our society, but they're not. They fail at every possible level and in every possible circumstance. And it shocks me to think that these people are making laws that are devised supposedly to keep the rest of the community safe, and to ensure that there are laws that ensure that sexual assault does not happen, and to make laws to ensure that the workplace is a safe place. Yet they themselves are unable to make their own workplace safe. It's a concern for all of us, and we need to take some action to make sure that it stops. So thanks everybody for watching Wise, Witty and Weird. If you'd like to register your comment, please do so below, and certainly if you wish to contribute to our Patreon site, please do so as well. We'd be delighted to hear from you. And subscribe, of course, also to this particular YouTube page, and also ring the bell for further notifications. But we would like to hear from you. If you have any comments to make about anything that we've talked about or I've talked about, please let me know. I'd be really interested in hearing what you have to say. Thanks everybody. Take care and be safe.